is the story of one man's career, but not just any man. This is the story of the life and times of Bill Ordway, transportation professional. Now, some of you here tonight may wonder what the career of Bill Ordway has meant to Arizona, and that's a fair question. Well, just think back in your own mind to how it was driving to work during rush hour 27 years ago when Bill Ordway first came to Arizona's highway agency, and then compare that mental picture to what it's like today. Looks to me like he really messed things up big, but he did make himself pretty indispensable. So let's go back and see just what made this consummate professional the man he became, so indispensable to us all. And here we find Bill Ordway posing for his first picture after his birth, June 13, 1924, in Bangor, Maine. But the amazing part of this shot is that it's exactly the way he sits at his desk today, 60 years later, playing with his toesies. At an early age, Bill Ordway showed a natural inclination toward screening sand in a material pit near his home in Bangor. Obviously, a road builder in the rough. Sensing that he was destined for high places, his mother taught him early to comb his hair while he still had some. Yeah, though the Maine in those days, as now, was snow country. At age 6, his sister Helen and canine pal made sure bundled up Bill understood the perils of snow country up there in them high elevations. She didn't realize, of course, how prophetic that was. And it was just in the nick of time, too, because in 1930, the Ordway family, with 2 cars, 2 trailers, a dog, and a maid, packed up and moved to California. That's young Bill next to his father with the patched breeches. Prosperity must have awaited them in California, as witness this family portrait taken in 1935. Always a ladies' man, Bill sits in this photo with his arm around his mother. Recognize those ears, folks? Bill discovered the wonderful world of transportation in early life in California, and we discover why he never became an automobile design engineer. He also had early experience in highway safety as part of his career preparation. This shot was taken by a pedestrian just before he became acquainted, somewhat painfully, with our budding professional. Bill became fascinated with another mode of transportation in those early years. Here, standing at left, he makes his first discovery of the world of flight as he asks, "You mean you want me to go way up there?" Well, Bill was always multimodal, and here water transportation was not to be neglected by Ordway. Only trouble is, right after this shot was taken, he lost his lunch and decided not to become a sailor. Even young Bill was always a modest man, which comes through clear in this shot of him clutching his diploma from Mount Hermon, Massachusetts Prep School in 1941, fist clenched to conquer the world of higher education. It was California Institute of Technology that he took on first, but he still found time for that silent mode of transportation, sailplaning. For by that time, the glider had become a lifetime avocation for young Ordway. Here are shots of a couple of early trips Ordway and friend made to glider meets. See, can't that Ordway ever stand up without leaning on something? It was in 1942 when he finally stood on his own 2 feet and left Caltech with the war at its height and became the ground school instructor at Air Contract School in Wickenburg. This was the first time that he took up residence in Arizona, or as this photo shows, over Arizona. But the following year, we find Bill Ordway signed up for the Air Force to become a pilot instructor. He had this glamour shot taken, but didn't have a sweetheart to send it to. But he did have leaves over the next 3 years to visit his folks in California. Yeah, that's him. The ears haven't gotten any better, have they? After leaving the military in 1946, it was none other than Stanford University that offered just the right challenge for Bill Ordway, standing at left in this fraternity photo, taken while these dedicated young scholars crammed for an exam in one of those very earthy sciences so necessary to earn the lofty title of civil engineer. Still another scene of scholarly pursuit, and this time, instead of losing his pants, he lost his shirt and his heart to the pretty Miss Nancy Wilson, whom he's seen pawing second from right. It was a whirlwind courtship, skiing in Yosemite, posing next to gliders while Nancy got up enough nerve to get in, and finally the thrill of flight itself, and walking on the wing to get to the passenger compartment, I reckon. Finally, you guessed it, on December 21st, 1947, in Nancy's hometown of Portland, Oregon, this ceremony occurred, followed by graduation from Stanford in 1949, and then, of course, the Ordways indeed were flying high. First stop was this building in Los Angeles, where Bill assumed the task of breadwinner for the bridge division of the Los Angeles Highway Department, an agency larger than the State Highway Department of Arizona. In 1951, they built this house in Hollywood Hills as Bill became registered as a professional engineer in California and continued to rise through the ranks of the L.A. County Bridge Division. At least none of the bridges were falling down, so I guess things were going pretty well. It looks here like he engineered more than bridges in those years. That's the Ordways in 1954, with Susan and Kathy all smiles. But L.A. was getting too crowded already, and Bill's mind kept turning to those days he spent in Arizona during his military years. So the next thing we know, in December 1957, this document, initiated by District Engineer Bill Price, was passing up through channels of the Arizona Highway Department, announcing the hiring of one William A. Ordway as senior resident engineer in Tucson, at just about half the salary he was making in L.A. But it's just like Bill Price explained, it's not Arizona's fault California was overpaying you. So our hero simply settled in on his new job a few months, and then this document went up through channels. His first vacation request. Note it's just about the time the July heat was hitting Tucson. Well, his years in Tucson, followed by successive promotions to district engineer in Safford and then in Flagstaff, are an impressive explosion of busy days in road building and maintaining, gaining confidence in the practical application of those engineering principles. Of special note was the building of the Burro Creek Bridge on US 93, about halfway to Kingman from Wickenburg, which stands as impressive as ever today. These photos reveal a valuable tactic Bill and Nancy Ordway learned in those early years. How to avoid getting road complaints when you're out in public socially. Yeah, going undercover has stood him in good stead all through professional life. He became a tireless hiker in his off-duty hours. Did we say tireless? How come we couldn't find any photos of him actually on his feet? Yeah, but we must hurry on. In 1965, Bill was summoned to the Highway Department headquarters in Phoenix as Assistant Operations Engineer, where this prophetic performance report was made by his immediate boss, Oscar T. Lyon, Jr. It says that this man could perform any job in the Highway Department and do it well. Even secretary likely from the shot a few frames back. The man here at Wright, Justin Herman, Director of Highways, must have read that report by Oscar. A couple years later, he selected Bill Ordway as Deputy Director of the agency and put him in charge of streamlining the department's operations. And then early in the 70s, he worked with the legislature to fashion a new Department of Transportation for Arizona. Bill still managed to keep hands in major construction work, such as the building of Interstate 15 through the forbidding Virgin River Gorge. Here's one inspection visit with a number of the department's brightest pros who made that award-winning stretch of interstate possible. Of course, Bill kept his nose to the grindstone and never once took time out from carrying his back-breaking load. An avid naturalist, he did take time out once in a while to lunch with the bunnies, or to be Mr. Twinkletoes with Nancy. Well, he and Nancy have kept their interest in gliding, of course. Bill, with Big Mama crewin', has been a regular at regional championships and even won a time or two. And of course, he kept his glider pilot's license absolutely current, if a little illegal. In July 1974, after having served 6 months as acting highway director of the Highway Department after Justin Herman retired, Governor Jack Williams decided that one of the chief architects of the Department of Transportation legislation should have to live with it, and appointed Bill Ordway as ADOT's first director. Poor guy, he looks so innocent here, don't he? From that moment on, life for Bill Ordway has been a struggle to gain professional dignity. The first thing required of him was to pose for a picture in the front lobby of ADOT headquarters. But some joker put captions on the proofs, like these. I don't care what the salesman said, Nancy. This is not my size of shorts. Yes, Linda Alvarez, the rumor is true. I'm proposing another nickel gas tax for Planned Parenthood. That's right, Senator. We didn't buy a turbojet, but a 7-passenger glider. Wait till they discover what we're really building is the helicoils. Well, the next thing that happened was he okayed candid shots of himself in action in his office, but they turned out to be more candid than he planned. There's no dignity there, that's for sure. Frustrated by his quest for dignity at home, Bill Ordway went big time and achieved a resounding success. His persuasive views on national transportation issues gained ascendancy in the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, until not only was he elected Arizona's first president of that unpronounceable group, but he had left his mark on the Surface Transportation Act of 1982. He had also become a veritable bagman for bringing Arizona millions of federal discretionary dollars to help speed completion of the Papago Freeway. He must have made a terrible nuisance of himself for that kind of money. Well, by now, you all have gathered that this presentation has a good many gaps to it, most of which represent Bill Ordway's true accomplishments as Arizona's first state transportation director. Well, you can blame him for that. He pleaded with the planning committee, keep it light, no heavy stuff, if you want me to come, that is. But you know, we must add, as we look at these familiar shots of Bill in action, his service to the state of Arizona sets a new high standard for all those in public careers. And as for the people of Arizona, we don't have to eulogize Bill Ordway's contributions one bit. Folks will enjoy the benefits of his labor of love for many, many years to come as they travel Arizona's highways.
Side by side.